You want to be rich, not for greed, but for freedom. To no longer wake up feeling that your time belongs to someone else. To no longer justify your choices to people who never cared about your effort. You want to control your life, not wait for permission. Yet deep inside, you've been conditioned to believe that wealth is something almost moral in its difficulty, that to get it, you must deserve it through sacrifice, honesty, and patience. That lie has kept entire generations obedient, powerless, and grateful for crumbs. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He knew that wealth, like power, is never distributed by fairness. It is seized by those who understand how human nature truly works, and who dare to use it instead of being used by it. The poor man believes that effort creates opportunity. The rich man knows that opportunity creates effort. For others, that is the first inversion you must understand. You've been taught to move in a system built to reward obedience, to believe in merit, while your superiors manipulate visibility, timing, and emotion. This is why most intelligent, good-hearted people remain trapped. They confuse moral virtue with strategic blindness. They believe being liked is the same as being valuable. Machiavelli would call that a fatal delusion, because the world does not reward goodness. It rewards control over perception. The man who appears confident is more respected than the man who actually knows. The one who controls attention controls the flow of money, admiration, and opportunity. You cannot fight this truth. You can only learn to use it. Wealth, in Machiavellian terms, is not about gold or numbers. It is power crystallized, the tangible proof that others act according to your intention. In a world that measures worth through appearance, perception becomes a currency greater than labor. Those who master perception shape reality. They don't need to ask for permission. They define what others consider possible. And here lies the secret that will offend every naive idealist. Rich people don't play the same game as the poor. The poor compete for recognition, the rich compete for control. The poor chase money. The rich build systems that make others chase for them. The poor seek fairness, the rich seek leverage. And when these two worlds collide, morality becomes irrelevant, because, as Machiavelli said, the end justifies the means, only for those powerful enough to write the end. Most people will never understand this because they seek security, not clarity. They want to be rich without appearing ruthless. They want to win while still being liked. But you can't serve two masters, not in politics, not in business, not in life. Every empire is built on the ruins of someone else's comfort. Every fortune begins when someone stops obeying the rules designed to keep them small. If you want to get rich from nothing, you must first stop trying to be good in the wrong world. There is no morality in survival. There is only advantage and how you use it. Consider how power flows in modern society. People say money moves to where it is needed. That's false. Money moves to where attention is manipulated. The richest individuals don't sell the best products. They sell the strongest beliefs. They don't compete for markets. They engineer desire. They use fear, envy, and admiration as tools to guide collective emotion. Just like princes once controlled cities through armies, they now control minds through symbols, luxury, and status. To the Machiavellian thinker, money is never personal. It's psychological. It's about who dictates the narrative of what people value. The modern prince doesn't conquer land. He conquers perception. Let's strip the illusions. You don't become rich by working harder. You become rich by creating a symmetry, by designing a position where others must work harder for you. Machiavelli understood this principle through the structure of power itself. He advised rulers to always create dependence, make others need you more than you need them. Translate that into modern economics. Build something that feeds on other people's effort, attention, or emotion. That is what every empire, every corporation, every influencer, and every elite investor does. They make others believe that their service is value, while they quietly control the system that decides what value even means. The modern poor man is not starving, he is hypnotized. He works inside someone else's vision, thinking it's his own. Here is the truth no one tells you. Wealth does not start with money, it starts with position. The rich man's advantage is not his capital, but his awareness. He sees patterns others overlook. He sees that while most people act on emotion, outrage, guilt, or hope, the strategist acts on timing. He waits, not passively, but as a hunter who already knows where the prey will run. He studies markets like Machiavelli studied the courts of princes, not for moral lessons, but for leverage. He knows when people are most blind, in excitement, in panic, in collective imitation. He moves against emotion, not with it. That is the architecture of fortune, calm in chaos, cold in competition. And that's why you must stop worshipping effort and start studying influence. Because influence is the invisible weapon of wealth. You might think you need capital, contacts, or luck. In truth, you need psychological authority. Machiavelli would tell you, appear as the solution, not the seeker. People give power to those who seem to already possess it. The rich project inevitability, the illusion that success follows them naturally. It's not arrogance, it's strategy. Confidence is not a personality trait, it's a currency. The more others believe in your certainty, the more they act in ways that sustain it. That's why the most profitable lie in the world is that you must prove your worth. The truth is the opposite. You must make others assume it. Now, look at yourself. How many times have you been manipulated without realizing it? How many times have you given your energy, time, or loyalty to someone who never intended to repay you? Every time you explain, justify, or defend yourself to those who already doubt you, you lose value. The Machiavellian mind never explains, it positions. It lets others fill the silence with their own projection. It allows mystery to work as a silent weapon. The powerful don't chase approval, they cultivate ambiguity, because when people can't fully read you, they overestimate you. And that overestimation is a source of control far greater than persuasion. To be feared or admired is optional. To be unpredictable is essential. The illusion of equality keeps the weak pacified. Society repeats that anyone can make it if they believe in themselves. That's the most elegant form of control ever invented. Because while you chase emotional hope, the powerful play structural games. They buy influence, not advice. They control laws, not opinions. They invest in systems that make your belief profitable for them. The poor man dreams of financial freedom. The rich man dreams of owning the platform that sells that dream. That's not cruelty. It's intelligence applied without apology. But Machiavelli also warned of blindness within power. He knew that those who seek dominance without purpose become slaves to fear. The goal is not to imitate cruelty, but to understand the economy of emotion. You cannot stay moral in an immoral system, but you can stay strategic. You can use awareness, restraint, and intelligence as weapons instead of anger or guilt. You can learn when to strike and when to disappear. Wealth is not about greed, it's about insulation, the freedom to not be affected by others' chaos, to move like a shadow, invisible until necessary, precise when exposed, untouchable when attacked. That is the Machiavellian ideal, not dominance, but detachment with purpose. When you stop seeking validation, you begin to perceive opportunities invisible to those still trapped by approval. You start seeing how manipulation disguises itself as morality, how pity is often a tool of power, how guilt is a leash. Once you break that leash, you realize that most people want to be told what to value. They crave authority. They desire hierarchy, even as they deny it. And the few who dare to embody that authority rise quickly, not because they're superior, but because they accept that humans are predictable in their irrationality. They don't hate the game, they design it. And here is where your transformation begins. Wealth is no longer a goal, but a byproduct of strategy. You no longer chase money. You attract it through alignment of perception, value, and leverage. You learn to move like a Machiavellian architect, quietly influencing the rules while others argue about fairness. You stop trying to be liked and you start being observed. The eyes of others no longer control you. They serve you. Because attention is a modern currency, and whoever directs it holds invisible power. So the question is not how to get rich from nothing, it's how to stop acting like nothing. Every time you diminish your potential to make others comfortable, you lose capital, psychological, emotional, and financial. Every time you hesitate to demand your value, you reinforce your own invisibility. Machiavelli would advise, if you cannot be both loved and feared, it is safer to be feared. In modern terms, this means it is better to be respected than relatable. Respect breeds opportunity. Relatability breeds exploitation. When people see you as strong, they invest in your vision. When they see you as agreeable, they consume you. You might feel a quiet resistance reading this, a moral unease. That's natural. You've been trained to associate ambition with ego, wealth with corruption, control with evil. But Machiavelli didn't teach immorality. He taught realism, the ability to act with clarity when others are blinded by illusion, to win without apology, to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Once you internalize that, your perspective on money changes forever. You realize that your struggle isn't with the world, it's with your conditioning. You've been told that wealth is about deserving. It's not. It's about positioning. It's about understanding the flows of power, the cycles of fear, and the leverage of perception. It's about being both invisible and undeniable. And if you truly grasp that, you will start to see wealth everywhere, not as coins or numbers, but as influence. The ability to move minds, shape decisions, and command attention. You will no longer chase success, you will design it. You will no longer serve the system. You will study it, decode it, and use it. And from that moment, you'll understand the first real lesson of Machiavelli. Those who control appearances control outcomes. That is how men rise from nothing, not through chance, but through mastery of perception and timing. Now you know what they never wanted you to know. The rich are not luckier. They are colder, clearer, and more calculating. They see through emotion while others drown in it. They act while others hesitate. They decide while others seek approval. And that's how power and wealth quietly shift hands. Machiavelli never believed in luck. He believed in preparation meeting opportunity disguised as chaos. To him, fortune was not a goddess to be worshipped, but a storm to be navigated. The fool prays for calm seas. The strategist studies the currents, builds his ship, and sails while others tremble. That is how wealth begins, not with resources, but with readiness. You can have nothing, no capital, no connections, no support, and still win if you know how to read the emotional landscape of those who do. Because every empire, every corporation, every rich family is powered by human weakness. The man who understands that weakness does not need to beg for a place, he creates one. Your poverty may not be financial, it may be intellectual, emotional, or strategic. You may be rich in skill but poor in positioning. That is not a failure, it is a symptom of misdirected energy. You've been told to work hard, but not where to aim. You've been told to be honest, but not how to protect yourself from those who aren't. You've been told to trust the process, but not who designed it. The Machiavellian mind starts by asking, who benefits from my obedience? Because in every structure, from religion to corporations, someone profits from your discipline. The powerful encourage virtue not because it's good, but because it keeps the masses predictable. If everyone is trying to be good, no one is trying to be dangerous. To get rich from nothing, you must stop seeking fairness and start seeking leverage. Leverage is invisible power, the ability to multiply your effect without multiplying your effort. In modern times, leverage takes three forms: information, perception, and access. Information gives you foresight, perception gives you influence, access gives you opportunity. You don't need to own everything. You only need to control what others depend on. The smartest investors don't own land. They own the contracts that define its value. The smartest leaders don't own armies. They control loyalty. The smartest creators don't chase audiences. They build ecosystems where audiences chase them. That's leverage, quiet, invisible dominance. Let's analyze how Machiavelli would approach wealth in the 21st century. He would not start a business. He would create a narrative that makes others build it for him. He would not seek followers. He would engineer admiration. He would not ask for funding. He would control belief. His empire would begin not in factories or offices, but in minds. He would study the three psychological currencies of modern power: attention, trust, and fear. Whoever controls these controls wealth. Attention is the new land. Trust is the new gold. Fear is the new weapon. The masses spend attention like beggars throwing coins into fountains. They follow trends, personalities, causes, anything that gives them a sense of belonging. The Machiavellian thinker doesn't waste attention, he harvests it. He knows that attention, once captured, can be converted into anything: money, influence, loyalty, even silence. That's why the rich invest in spectacle. They build temples of distraction, luxury, fame, controversy, to keep people emotionally attached to their image. They sell you meaning because they know you crave direction, and as you admire their lifestyle, you unknowingly work to expand it. The poor pay for symbols, the rich sell them. Trust, however, is rarer, and it is never given freely. It is engineered through consistency and perception of competence. Machiavelli advised princes to appear virtuous, not to be virtuous, but to appear so when useful. Modern leaders do the same. They wear humility like armor, while maneuvering like predators. They make you believe they care about justice, environment, or inclusion, not out of morality, but out of strategic optics. Trust keeps the weak calm, suspicion keeps the powerful sharp. Then comes fear, the most misused tool of all. Machiavelli never recommended cruelty for pleasure. He recommended it for clarity. Fear organizes chaos. It creates structure. In business, this means establishing boundaries so strong that others hesitate before crossing them. It means enforcing consequences quietly but decisively. The employee, the partner, the competitor, they must feel your presence even when you are not there. Fear doesn't require violence. It requires certainty. When people know that you act without hesitation, they respect your silence more than your speeches. Understand this: wealth follows clarity. The poor man hesitates. The rich man acts. The poor man doubts. The rich man decides. The poor man argues. The rich man observes. Why? Because clarity is a weapon. You cannot build power in confusion. You must know exactly what game you're playing and what games others are trying to pull you into. Most people lose not because they are incapable, but because they are emotionally hijacked. They react instead of maneuvering. They chase comfort instead of control. Machiavelli would say, "He who depends on emotion will always be ruled by those who don't." Here's a truth most cannot handle. You cannot be rich and innocent. Every fortune carries a shadow, a moment where someone's illusion was broken, someone's comfort was disrupted, someone's belief was exploited. But that doesn't make wealth evil. It makes it human. Every social system runs on manipulation, advertising, politics, relationships. The question isn't whether you manipulate, but whether you do it consciously. The rich manipulate intentionally. The poor manipulate accidentally. The difference is awareness. The Machiavellian path teaches you to become conscious of your influence, to wield it ethically if you choose, but never unconsciously. Now let's speak of alliances. Machiavelli believed no one rises alone. Even the most brilliant prince needs allies, not friends, but functional relationships based on mutual benefit. The poor think in loyalty, the rich think in alignment. Loyalty binds you emotionally. Alignment binds you strategically. That's why powerful people change circles frequently. They understand that alliances expire when their utility does. The poor call this betrayal. The powerful call it evolution. To stay wealthy, you must update your alliances as fast as the world updates its opportunities. Do not cling to outdated loyalty. Cling to relevance. Another lesson: never compete openly. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The modern version: move in silence. Let others announce their goals. Let them expose their plans. Then strike indirectly, not through confrontation, but through redirection. Wealth is built not in war, but in invisible conquest. When others waste energy fighting for recognition, you quietly secure ownership, partnerships, influence. When they boast, you calculate. When they react, you wait. The less predictable your movements, the more control you gain. Mystery is profit. But to master this mindset, you must destroy one final illusion, that you owe the world explanation or fairness. You owe it only competence and strategy. The world does not reward effort. It rewards perception of control. The moment you internalize that, you stop explaining and start executing. You realize that the less people understand your methods, the safer your power becomes. Transparency is for those without leverage. Obscurity is a fortress. Machiavelli said, "Never let others know the limits of your ambition. In modern terms, let them underestimate you until it's too late." Let's examine this through the architecture of wealth creation. There are three phases: position, influence, and expansion. Position is where you plant your flag, your niche, your skill, your field of visibility. This is where you must appear specialized, even if you begin with nothing. You build authority not by being the best, but by being the most decisive. People confuse confidence with expertise. Use that. Present yourself as inevitable in your domain. Speak less, execute more. Make every appearance look calculated. Appear as if you've already won, because the world believes those who behave as if they have. Influence is your invisible empire. It's how you manipulate the flow of attention and trust. You use contrast, scarcity and abundance, mystery and revelation, silence and spectacle. You never flood people with information. You give them symbols. One gesture, one phrase, one image can create a myth that lives longer than any marketing plan. The rich don't sell. They frame. They shape how people interpret events. They build meaning, not products. Expansion comes when you use your influence to multiply wealth without increasing effort. This is where you detach. You hire, automate, delegate, not because you're lazy, but because control requires distance. Machiavelli would say, "A ruler must never rely on the arms of others, yet he must never wield the sword himself." The modern meaning: build systems that obey your intention while freeing you from labor. True wealth is measured by how little you must do to maintain it. And yet, even the richest are vulnerable to vanity, complacency, and guilt. These are the poisons that destroy empires. Vanity makes you predictable. Complacency makes you blind. Guilt makes you weak. Machiavelli's antidote was awareness. To remain rich, you must stay observant, not paranoid, but alert. Every betrayal begins in your comfort. Every downfall begins when you think you've earned peace. The moment you relax, someone hungrier than you begins to study your pattern. So keep evolving. Power hates stagnation. And money, like power, flows to movement. The final secret is this: the Machiavellian rich never chase validation. They chase positioning in memory. They know that history remembers not who was liked, but who was effective. The man who builds silently and strikes precisely leaves a legacy that echoes longer than applause. That is the essence of true wealth, not the number in your account, but the permanence of your influence. Because one day, all fortunes decay. Markets collapse, economies reset, but perception, once shaped, outlives all currency. So ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as another honest worker who obeyed every rule and died in quiet frustration? Or as someone who mastered the art of invisibility, who understood the game and played it with elegance? The answer will determine not only your wealth, but your freedom. Because freedom is not given, it's seized. And once you've seen the machinery of manipulation, you can never go back to innocence. Machiavelli's dark truth is liberating. Wealth belongs to those who no longer wait for permission to act, to those who use fear wisely, silence strategically, and ambition unapologetically. The rest remain spectators, moral, exhausted, and broke. If you've understood this message, you've already begun your transformation. The world won't announce it, but quietly, your perception will shift. You'll stop chasing money, and money will start chasing you.